coming up, I want to focus more on the client and my employees, the contractors I hire in.
Yeah.
I want my values to bleed into what we do every day. I want them to be aware of them. I want them to honor them and know and understand them.
Welcome back to the Catalyst Podcast. I'm your host, Sonia Pedowick, and today we are with Brianna Waufle of Garden Interiors Las Vegas. And I'm really excited to talk about this unique business. It is an interior design for the holidays company, something you probably haven't heard of, and I'm excited to dig into. So welcome to the show, Brianna.
Thank you so much.
So we go way back. We actually met when I had little children, which they are now young adults. So it's like a lifetime, really, which is kind of, I don't know, surreal.
I feel like I'm where you are.
Yeah.
15 years ago.
Really, you are actually. Well, yeah, that is true. Yeah, it's sad to think about. It's like a chapter keeps closing in this story of parenthood and motherhood. And now to see you kind of like starting businesses, because that's like I was beginning motherhood and starting businesses, and now my kids are going off to their next chapters, and now you're starting motherhood and business. So tell us a little bit about your business.
I'm the owner of Garden Interiors Las Vegas, and about 5 years ago, my husband and I acquired it. So I was where we met. I was a Montessori teacher. I was a preschool teacher, and always looking for additional income, picking up side hustles here and there. And at the time, my boyfriend said, I know these people that come to town and decorate for the holidays. I think you would like it. And they paid really well, and it was a lot of fun. So we helped for several years. And in 2018, they asked if we'd be willing to take over the Las Vegas portion of their business so that they could retire.
It's super exciting.
And I said, heck no, because I've never ran a business. And he was like, yeah, we're going to do this.
Yeah.
That same year we got married, we moved across the country. So lots of big things checked off the list within a short period of time. And I ran the company from living out of state.
Yeah.
So we lived in Tennessee, and we would come back every holiday season and do these big holiday displays that we do. And so I feel like being a teacher helped equip me for some of the things like the creativity part and kind of, what's the word I'm looking for?
Just the fun aspect of like bringing nostalgia. So like, what is Garden Interiors? Because it's kind of a unique name for what it is that you guys do.
Yeah. So we used the previous owner's name and just added on the Las Vegas part because I knew we were going to grow beyond just Christmas. And so I wanted to keep the umbrella pretty simple with interior design of some sort. And garden is like the tree and floral aspect of it. So we customize big holiday displays for corporate lobbies. Awesome. We specialize in Class A buildings. So we're in like Howard Hughes and the Marnell properties by the airport.
Yeah.
And we have a couple timeshares. Just this last year, we got a couple luxury resident homes. And so that's something fun.
Yeah.
But our main focus is to do like big corporate lobbies. And here in Las Vegas, as the city grows, the potential is pretty big.
Well, I'm always fascinated by especially women business owners that bring unique business ideas to life because, you know, you go into businesses and I see those decorations and I don't ever really think about like, well, how did that come to be here? And I've been in Howard Hughes a number of times and never thought like, oh, that's an outside company that comes in to do that. So that's pretty exciting.
It takes a whole team. We rent like scissor lifts and we have giant ladders. Yeah, it takes anywhere from 5 to 10 people. Yeah. And we usually go in after business hours. So oftentimes employees will be leaving for the day at 5 o'clock and we're there till 9. If
You're
it's
like
during
little
the week,
magical elves.
little elves that come in and then the next day it's there.
Yeah.
We save the big ones for the weekends. But it is a rather unique business, and it's also, I feel like, unique the way I came into it. So I never really dreamed of being this Christmas decorator, but it's been a ton of fun.
Yeah.
And it's a blessing because I had 2 babies, and I've been able to stay home with them and just work just a couple months a year and put in that time. And we moved back to Las Vegas so that we could be closer to family and have their help.
Yeah. But and now you have 2 babies.
Now I have 2 babies. So I am where you were 15 years ago.
So crazy.
Yeah.
And so what have been some of the challenges, because business ownership comes with challenges. And what would you say?
I was just telling Ruby, like being an entrepreneur is kind of this self-discovery road. And so I, trying to stay organized stay up to date with trends and up to date with technology, like
Right.
learning all. I posted on Instagram for fun to share my family with loved ones, but now to use it as a business tool.
Yeah.
And kind of put on like corporate pants. So I was always a preschool teacher and I was wearing yoga pants. And now I'm trying to like I'm just trying to like put
Find
myself in that CEO
Yeah.
space as a business owner. And what does that look like and feel like? And I think that's been something new but exciting because
Right.
it makes me feel like a woman.
Yeah.
I'm not a little girl anymore. And so that's
Feel
been
like
fun.
a woman.
Yeah, challenges, right? Like the typical, I mean, you're overseeing employees and taking care of payroll and taking care of taxes
Yeah.
and a lot of the back end, which you've helped me with because I didn't go to school for business and
Right.
I'm taking a couple classes on the side, but there's just so much to learn. And
Right.
again, we've had it for 5 years, but I didn't really truly dive in until this last year and a half of what this will take to grow, take it super seriously as this option of financial freedom and time for my family and I for the future, so I don't have to step back into the classroom
Right.
and go to work full time and I can raise my boys.
And I think a lot of business owners really, they start these like little ideas and a lot of women too, and especially during pandemic, 46% of businesses that were started during pandemic were by women, housewives, or minority owned businesses because we were sort of forced out of, there was a lot of companies that like trimmed the fat and they laid off a lot of people. There were a lot of people that chose like, I'm out of the corporate world because, now I'm working from home anyway and I can launch this business. A lot of creative ideas were forced through COVID because working from home, and there were a lot of problems in the world that needed to be solved, like innovative ideas that came about, and so women like just spawned all these great ideas in business, right? And so I don't know that a lot of those 46% of businesses, the people who started them had the traditional went to business school, right?
True. Yeah.
Or they went to school for something totally different and didn't get a traditional business school education. And so a lot of entrepreneurs, are kind of just winging it to begin with. And so a lot of times people lean into the creative part or they lean into the finance or the operation part, and there's always a gap missing.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. And for you, part of that was maybe the finance. For a lot of women, it's the finance part that is missing, and just kind of figuring out like, how much should I charge, or how do I run my books, or how do I invoice properly? And putting all those pieces together is something you've been really working on this year to make sure you tighten it up. So it's been a little bit of a journey for you.
And I would say like we took a hit during COVID, right? Like the year after I took it over, we were expecting to do the same thing. And a lot of people were home. There weren't tenants going into these big offices. And so budgets were cut and we had to have some sit down conversations with these property management owners. And what does it look like this year? And we had made a ton of changes. So that was like first little hump to learn is how to sway and bend and be flexible with changes. So I think we're finally seeing people going back into the offices and budgets are getting a little bit better where these businesses are able to invest and they know it's important to do those holiday displays because we're a luxury service, right? We're not a necessity. We aren't a need. And so I think that's what makes us unique as well is we're this service that is an addition to an office space.
Yeah. And you also have this other side of it too, where it's like a creative thing. And so some people just want the same display every year because that's, Howard Hughes like has this tradition and they want the same Christmas tree up. And then others are like, well, we want to do something new and cutting edge, and trends are always trending and changing. And so how do you add a little new to what you're doing?
Because we customize each property, right? The garlands are measured and built for that railing, and the tree was obviously chosen for the height of the ceiling. And so we can't just bring in, like it has to be ordered and we have to really plan. And there's been a couple buildings within Howard Hughes specifically that are very similar. They have like identical installs, but they're just different colors. So there was been a couple times where we've actually switched them.
Yeah.
So that the color palettes are in a different building, but it's same height tree, same garland, same wreath, gift packages underneath. With cutting edge and keeping up with the trends, I would say it's easy to add to a display, right?
Yeah.
So bigger balls and bows, and depending on the colors. What I love, we got a couple new clients last year and their branding and logo colors were very different. They were untraditional, orange and blue. And that was a ton of fun. You can add to a display I think traditionally doing big animals like deer or polar bears and things like that were really popular. And I feel like that's kind of coming out. So I go to the market every year. We just had it in January, which is super exciting. And so
it'd be fun to go to.
Yeah, actually the spring prior is when they release winter for the following year. And then like in this summer, they'll be releasing spring for 2026. It's wild how far ahead they are.
Yeah.
Which people who are not in the industry are not. So, you know, when I get calls late summer or early fall for something, oftentimes
it's too late.
It's out of stock already. Like people are booking now and planning now for the upcoming season. Like Christmas is always being planned.
Yeah.
All year long we're planning.
Right. And I imagine the residential market, it's like totally last minute, right?
Yeah.
Someone's like, oh, I want to do this.
Halloween's over.
Right.
Thanksgiving's coming. Oh yeah, Thanksgiving is Christmas and it's time for Christmas.
Yeah, it's like I got to get this up and I'm too busy and I can just outsource this and have expendable income to do it. So I'll just hire someone.
Networking here in the Las Vegas area, there's not too many of us doing professional holiday decor.
Right.
And because I just came back and I'm kind of broadening our clientele, I was the phone call this last year for some of those last minute requests.
Right.
People looked up other decorators and they were busy. Their books were full and they could not be accommodated. And so I got a couple of those calls this year.
Yeah.
So I was able to take them on.
And that's got to be fun to go into someone's home and make it special for the holiday. And it's not just Christmas, because in working with you, I saw that you were able to do a couple of Kwanzaa displays and Hanukkah displays, and those lobbies that want to be diverse in what they're celebrating. It's got to be a little bit fun.
Yeah, it is fun.
Yeah.
And it's, as a teacher, right? Like we touched on all the different holidays that are celebrated across the world. So I'm pretty familiar with different customs and celebrations that people do. So that makes me really happy because I know not everyone wants to do Christmas. So we really do holiday scenes. And then outside of the holidays, traditional holiday season, I'm learning about people who like to decorate for just spring, maybe not Easter, and then fall.
Like some more seasonal type stuff. Yeah, we've talked
stuff
about that because that's a great way to expand your business, maybe create other revenue, but also bring a little bit of joy in a world that's chaotic for a lot of people. And the world is coming more back to in office, right? A lot of, you know, one of my businesses is in employment, and a lot of jobs and businesses are saying, hey, we want you to come back to the office. And so I think companies are trying to make those more joyful spaces. And so we've talked about diversifying into those other, whether it's holidays like Easter or St. Patrick's Day or Valentine's Day, or even just diversifying the holidays to make workspaces more just cheerful. For people.
It's where you live. It's your second home. Monday through Friday, 8 to 5. And just simple things like adding decor to planters, like putting a couple stakes in. That is honoring and celebrating the time of year that it is. Rather than you just going in and seeing the same thing every day. And I think that's what I loved most about the holiday time of year, is like it's the close of a year. And so when these people walk in, they're exhausted. The holidays are stressful. They're tired. But then that just like, yes, I get to be with my family soon, and just kind of can.
And I think too, being in Vegas in the desert, we don't really have seasons here. We're not really like the Midwest, or we don't have the changing of the leaves as distinctly as maybe like an East Coast or West Coast or upper Northwest
does.
I
mean everywhere else, but
we go from like 40 degrees to I think it was like 48, 49 degrees the other day, and then it was 70. So we don't get to enjoy the changing of the season. So if a workplace can kind of bring that into that atmosphere, it is kind of nice to be able to like have that. Mental health is big on the radar for workplaces.
And retention, like employee retention. I think when you know the person in charge cares for your space and is willing to invest in that, like that's a company you want to work for versus someone who seems like they don't care about their employees.
Drab workplace, you know, the monotony of in and out and in and out. So what are some big lessons you think you learned this year, just having gone through the mastermind, the incubator program? What's something maybe you discovered about yourself or business or...
Oh boy. I mean, I think all in all, like even in comparison to motherhood, like it takes a village. I think it's been really nice to have people to lean on. So in my mastermind group, I met some incredible people that I hope we stay in touch for a long time. Because we did this together. Like we got through some hard things together. And when you're an entrepreneur, sometimes you're doing it alone. And to be able to bounce ideas off of others, like their ideas came to them in seconds, and I had been sitting on something for weeks. And so just being able to bounce ideas and having their support was really helpful. But I think, again, it challenging you as a person, like your organization skills, your communication skills, and just who you are as a person, like bleeds into the business. And so some of maybe your faults come to the surface, but also some of the great things about you are what is the face of the business and the brand. And so that's been kind of an awakening part to me. What is this business and how do I want to be perceived? Because I am behind it, whether I try not to be. It is. Garden Interiors is me right now.
Right.
I'm lucky enough to have all my employees that come in for the seasonal time to do the work with me, but all year long, it's me.
Yeah.
And so.
Yeah. And I hope that, like, especially as women, and I talk to my kids about this, especially my daughters, like celebrating the success. They don't do that. And we've talked about that in the group too, where it's like, let's talk about a win, both personal and professional, each time we check in. And sometimes we kind of just like gloss over. That's like, wait a minute, I signed 2 new contracts, or I took time to do this or that. It's like we're so busy being busy in our business that we forget to stop and be like, wait a minute.
That was a big milestone.
Yeah. Like look what I did in this short. We have one person who joined the group later, started his business later, and is like way beyond, closing deals, signing on new clients. And he's like having this kind of aha moment that I'm way farther along than what I even imagined, because I don't even look at how many clients I've signed, all the things I'm doing, that my bank account is growing a little bit faster than I thought. Like, and everyone told me, like, you're not going to be able to go out on your own and do this. And here he is doing it. And he started, I think he joined the group in
June.
Yeah, like May, June. And we started in March. And so, that's also when he started his business. So like, I think as small business owners, and I do think even as females too, we don't celebrate our successes. So that's important to be able to do that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, thank you. Thank you for bringing awareness to all of that.
Yeah. And even we met last week and we were going to go through a little exercise about core values. And I had set it up to kind of go walk you through that. But then you're like, wait, here I kind of went through ChatGPT. I thought about some things that are important to me. And you presented what you had already done. And I was like, why do we even, like, you've already got it.
It was on point. Yeah. Yeah.
We don't need to redo it. Although I love my exercise and I like the fun part of going through, because you had joined late too. And we had already done that as a group. Like, we don't need to reinvent what you've already done. If these speak to you, if they mean something to you, like, you've got this.
Yeah.
Just stick to it.
No, I was excited. Yeah, exactly. And again, that's why I'm saying I don't have like someone, just that reassurance, I guess.
Yeah.
And just with me as a person, I'm learning to just follow my intuition and just make a choice and stick with it and move on to the next.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it can evolve over time. In my IT recruiting company, I'm probably on definitely the second version of core values for my business, because when I started, I was just like, I'd borrowed money, I'd bought the business. I had just been like, oh my God, I got to run. I have got to be like, there's no failure. And a lot was riding on what I had done to acquire the business. So I was like, oh, let me just throw some. And I didn't really understand the value of core values. I was like, oh, I'll just pick these. And the company meant one thing to me at one point than it did 2-3 years in, when I really got to sit with a team that was like, had my back and had built the foundation of Torian with me. And we did an exercise. I was like, well, while this meant something to me when we bought it, it's not who we are and who we've grown to be. And these core values are now who we are and how we hire, fire, choose partners with. And like, it was so much more powerful and different. Those can evolve over time.
I think so much of the last year has kind of been like about me
Yeah.
and the business. But
100%.
coming up, I want to focus more on the client and my employees, the contractors I hire in.
Yeah.
I want my values to bleed into what we do every day. I want them to be aware of them. I want them to honor them and know and understand them.
Yeah.
So that we could just continue growing. And
And you're learning too to balance, like, it takes a village and balancing motherhood. That's a big... How are you doing with that?
Doing well. I'm doing well. That's why we came back to Las Vegas. But I think every day I show up, it's just my time looks different than everybody else's, because I'm trying to be home with them. Nap time is my work time, unless, I've had some help. So I've given myself 1 day a week where I get to, but I'm working in the evenings and I work on the weekends. And I mean, you work all the time as is, but I'm really trying to get disciplined on carving out specific time to focus, because then I feel like I'm home with my boys, but I'm not giving them what they need. And I was a teacher, and I don't want to put them somewhere if I don't have to. Just really getting clear on my time and intention with my kids and with my business so that everything is getting a little more time versus, I mean, feeling like you juggle it all.
Right. And nothing's ever perfect.
My husband travels a lot. So like our relationship in our household is very unique in the fact that we're not both home every night.
Right.
And I can't just pick up a business call at any time of day.
Yeah.
If my 1-year-old decides it's not a good time to answer the phone.
Oh yeah. I remember having 3 under 5, just kind of. And I think after a COVID world too, like people expect like you're going to be like so many people work from home, you know. I remember even just as early as like 6 months ago or so, I called to make a change to like a Southwest Airlines flight. And like somebody was, I heard kids in the background and I was like, wow, I think Southwest people are still working from home. I thought that was so interesting. It's like, oh, well. And she was like, I'm so sorry. I'm like, oh, whatever. Like, what are you going to do? Like, it doesn't bother. If it doesn't bother you, it doesn't bother me. I just need to change my flight. I couldn't figure out how to do it on a companion, something I had booked weird. And I was like, I just need to get this done. That doesn't bother me.
And I know a lot of people trying to start things at home. And so,
everyone has stuff going on. So I think if we all give each other grace and ourselves grace, then it just naturally will happen. I think everyone's like looking for this model of perfection. And it's like, they model it after like, well, if this entrepreneur made, you know, Spanx and look what she did and she's achieved all this and why can't I do that? But that isn't my story. It's her story and that's what she did. And there can't be a million Spanx companies out there, right? Right.
Yeah, comparison will kill you.
Yeah, it's absolutely will kill you. And I don't know that I want to work as hard or do as everything that maybe she had to do to get to where that's at is. So when is it enough for me?
Right.
And when is it enough for you? Right.
Yeah.
So
no, I've been grateful. It's kind of been a slow and steady growth. And I no doubt know we're going to continue expanding.
Yeah.
So I'm excited to just take it on as it comes.
Yeah. So that's a good segue. What is next for Gardens Interior?
Well, you know, construction is continuing to expand and develop around as we grow. So I think I'm just going to get brave and reach out to these bigger corporations and be known and be heard.
Yeah.
I think I've kind of waited for people to come to me and for me to achieve the goals I have in mind. It's time for me to reach out.
Yeah.
And contact them.
So Brianna, where can people find you?
Our website is gardeninteriourslv.com. Instagram is garden_interiors.lv. And then LinkedIn, you can find me on LinkedIn, but the business page is Garden Interiors LV.
Perfect.
So.
And then what about like you have these pop-up wreath events?
Yeah, I've been doing monthly wreath events. So, you know, celebrating each season. We did a Galentine's in February, and this weekend on Sunday, we will be doing our St. Patrick's Day wreath. I'm excited for Easter and Mother's Day, spring and summer. I think those will be the most popular. But yeah, each month I already have a theme. And so we're just getting together, men and women, and creating wreaths to celebrate and post on your door and just get together and network and have fun.
Awesome. What advice would you say you have for business owners? What would be your nugget? Do you have advice for like women business owners, or like what would you say to business owners who are maybe thinking about getting into a mastermind?
That's definitely needed. I mean, surrounding yourself with other like-minded, successful people is definitely needed to keep you moving forward, because being able to brainstorm and toss ideas around with others that are kind of in the thick of it with you and learning and growing with you, and then being overseen by someone with the experience that you have and your connections and networks, especially if you've been in the city a long time. Yeah. I think there's something huge about that. But like I said, just being clear and intentional on what you want and getting organization to me was huge. Just getting organized on everything and making sure you just show up. Yeah.
Just give yourself grace. And I think just getting to a place where you just like keep moving forward regardless. Take the wins when you get them. And then even when you think it's like, oh, that's a loss, there's like a lesson to be learned in it.
And there's always setbacks, and you can read about some of the most successful people in the world, where they started, what they accomplished, what they overcame. Like no one had this golden paved pathway to where they are.
I think we talked about it like a couple of weeks ago, where you're like, oh my gosh, it's like, it gotta be so easy for like you or Vicky. We were trying to navigate like the new Nevada state tax website. And you're like, and I was like, oh my God, like
Yeah.
a week ago, I was like in tears trying to like navigate the modified business tax and the sales and use tax website. And I was short of throwing my laptop at the wall. Like I could not, I kept getting this 404 error on the website and it kept resetting. And I have 2 businesses and the passwords kept conflicting. And I like was on the phone for like 45 minutes. I mean, I was just... And it was not just that. It was like everything end of year stuff that was due by January 31st. And I was just at my wit's end. And I finally got someone from the sales tax to like help me, this poor guy. And
I was going to say, to be able to speak to somebody is so helpful.
And when he was helpful and he said, hey, would it be helpful if I just like combined your 2 companies into one username? And I was like... oh my gosh,
that's possible.
And I was like on the verge of tears. He's like, are you okay? And I was like, oh my God, I have been at this. And like 3 other major, like my sam.gov and all these little tasky things, which is not my MO. I don't have the patience for those things. I used to have people that supported me with that I made some business decisions to not have support me anymore. It's like stabbing my eyes out. And so like, I think there's this like, sort of saw that like, oh, it comes easier for people. And like, oh, it looks like it's so easy for these business people over here.
Well, that's some of like the hard, dirty work you have to do.
Yes.
And the fun and creative. Like when you're doing it all, you have to do it all.
Yeah.
And that like gets pushed aside, bottom of the priority list, but then you have to face it one day.
Oh yeah. And
so thank you for facing it with me.
And I'm in this place where I had an admin and I'm looking to hire a new admin, but I'm also like, I want to see the amount of work that I'm going to be giving a new person. So I can like level set, like how much do I pay and how much hours and what's the task look like? Cause I haven't looked at that. Because I had someone for 2 years. There was a lot of, sort of discussion like, oh, this job is so hard. And I've been kind of wanting to do some of the tasks to evaluate like how hard is this job? How many hours does it take? And I was just like, like at my wit's end. There was just some days, and one of our other incubator members like had come in one day, and I was like, "Oh my God, I'm gonna like." I was twitching. This is miserable. So it's not always easy, you know. And being, I think some people like look at it and go, "Oh, she's making a lot of money," or "Oh, it's so easy for her." And there's days where you're just like,
there's blood, sweat, and tears that truly go into it.
Effing murder someone, and why am I doing this? And like you have to remember your why, and you have to remember. Like there's a reason for all this. If I could get through this and systematize it and like figure it out, then.
I thought about going back to work. I was like, I can go back to being a teacher, something I know, and I can run this business on the side and like figure it out. And then I was like, no, for this to be what I want it to be, it needs to be. And so here we are being.
Just deal with this damn sales tax website.
Yep.
That was torture.
One of many it's only
once a year.
I was going to say, we're in February. It's only February.
Yeah.
So
I was ready to murder someone. So, all right. Well, as we wrap up, any last words of wisdom?
Not wisdom, but thank you for all you've done for me.
Aww.
And I know that it's going to be a great year.
Yeah. Well, thank you for trusting me, because that means a lot to me. And I just love watching businesses grow. And I just think it's so important for us right now to invest in small business. I think small businesses, especially women-owned and minority-owned, are really the way that forward for communities. And, all the big businesses are getting all the breaks and they have the tools, resources to move forward. Small businesses need the support. And so when we help each other, I just think the vibration is really important. And I just think there's power in that, and building a legacy for your families and our communities. That's what keeps me moving. Reminds me not to throw my laptop, not to give up, because I just think what you're building for your family and your community is really important. And together, it's just a really powerful thing that we're doing. So thank you for trusting me.
Absolutely.
So thank you for being on my show.
You'll see me in some of the big lobbies this year.
Yes, I know. If you like what you saw today on the Catalyst podcast, make sure you subscribe to our show, like it, and share it with someone who you think might also find value.